When my parents let me down on my wedding day, my fiancée proved her love. The day of my wedding was meant to be the happiest day of my life. It was something I'd imagined 1,000 times, standing at the altar, surrounded by everyone I loved, marrying my best friend and soulmate, Emily. She was the one person who truly understood me, who had stood by me through life's twists and turns, and who had taught me the meaning of real love and partnership. In the weeks leading up to the wedding, everything had been a whirlwind of planning, fittings, and final touches. Emily and I were meticulous planners, and we had poured our hearts into every detail. We chose a beautiful garden venue, decorated with twinkling lights and surrounded by lush flowers. The air was filled with the scent of roses and lavender, and as the day approached, I felt like I was living in a dream. The night before the wedding, my family, including my parents and my younger sister, Laura, stayed at a nearby hotel so they could be close to the venue and avoid any early morning commute stress. My sister, a sensitive and sometimes unpredictable person, had always required a lot of attention and care. Growing up, she was often in need of extra emotional support due to her bouts with anxiety, migraines, and other health concerns. I'd learned to accept that my family's focus was often on Laura's needs, even if it meant that my own milestones or plans sometimes took a back seat. I went to bed that night excited, expecting to see my parents the next morning, ready to help me prepare for my big day. But early that morning, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "We're having a small issue with Laura, but don't worry, we'll be there soon." I brushed it off at first, thinking it was just a minor inconvenience. But as time passed and my parents didn't arrive, I began to feel a gnawing sense of worry and disappointment. This was a day I'd envisioned sharing with them, and while I understood Laura's sensitivity, I never imagined they'd let it interfere with my wedding day. I decided to call them. My mom picked up, and I could tell from her tone that she was stressed. "Hey, where are you guys?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light despite the anxiety building in my chest. "Oh, honey, we're so sorry. Laura woke up with a horrible headache this morning, and she's been in so much pain. We're trying to get her some relief, but it's really bad right now," she said, her voice tense with worry. I felt my heart sink. I understood Laura's condition was uncomfortable, but I couldn't help feeling hurt and frustrated. This was my wedding day, a day that was supposed to be about Emily and me, a day where I needed their support. It felt as though my sister's needs were, once again, taking precedence. "Mom, can't you just leave her for a bit? This is my wedding," I said, my voice a mix of desperation and disbelief. There was a pause on the other end, and then she replied, "We can't leave her alone like this. She needs us right now, sweetheart. We'll try to get there as soon as we can." I ended the call feeling defeated. My mind was swirling with emotions, anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. I had always tried to be understanding of Laura's needs, but today was supposed to be different. Today was supposed to be about Emily and me, a celebration of our love, with our families by our side. Emily noticed my distress and came over, gently placing her hand on my shoulder. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice full of concern. I took a deep breath and told her everything. Emily listened, her expression softening as I explained the situation. I could see the compassion in her eyes, and instead of showing any frustration, she just nodded and squeezed my hand. "It's okay," she said quietly. "I know this is hard, but let's not let it ruin our day. We're surrounded by people who love us. Let's focus on that." Her words were exactly what I needed to hear. In that moment, I felt a wave of gratitude for Emily. She had always been the calm to my storm, and now, at this crucial moment, she was reminding me of what truly mattered. As the ceremony began, I glanced around, hoping for a miracle that my parents might walk through the doors, but they never did. I felt a pang of sadness, but as soon as I looked at Emily, standing there in her beautiful gown, all of my worries melted away. She was radiant, her smile lighting up the entire garden, and I realized that, in that moment, she was the only family I truly needed. We exchanged our vows, and as I held Emily's hands, I knew that this was the start of a new chapter in my life. She was my rock, my partner, and my best friend. The absence of my parents hurt, but Emily's presence filled that void with love, strength, and reassurance. Later, at the reception, Emily did something that took my breath away. She stepped up to the microphone to give a speech and looked around the room with a calm, confident smile. "I want to thank everyone here for being a part of this beautiful day," she began. "This wedding wasn't just about two people coming together, but about the community of love and support we have around us. To those who couldn't be here, we miss you, but we're grateful for those who chose to be with us today. Your presence means more than words can express." Her words resonated deeply with everyone in the room, especially with me. Emily wasn't only speaking to our guests, she was also sending a subtle message to my family, to my parents. She didn't need to show anger or resentment. She simply expressed gratitude for those who truly valued and supported us. Her grace in that moment made me fall in love with her even more. As the evening continued, we laughed, danced, and celebrated with our friends and extended family. It wasn't the wedding day I had imagined, but it was perfect in its own way. Emily's kindness, her unwavering strength, and her ability to bring joy to the moment turned the day into something unforgettable. A few days later, my parents finally reached out, apologizing profusely for missing the wedding. My mom explained how Laura's headache had worsened that morning, leaving them torn between supporting me and tending to her. I could tell she felt guilty, but I also knew that this was a pattern I'd seen many times before. My parents' priority would always be Laura, no matter the occasion. For years, I had struggled to come to terms with this dynamic, always hoping that one day my needs might come first. But Emily's response that day had given me a new perspective. I realized that while my parents would always be my family, my future lay with the person who stood by me, who celebrated our love, and who brought peace to every storm. Over time, my relationship with my parents became one of understanding rather than expectation. I no longer looked to them for validation or approval. I found that in Emily, in the life we were building together, and in the family we would create on our own terms. Looking back, I didn't regret their absence on my wedding day. That day, Emily and I had made a promise not just to love each other, but to choose each other every day above anyone else. And in the end, that's exactly what we did. On what was supposed to be the happiest day of his life, the groom finds himself heartbroken when his parents fail to attend his wedding, choosing instead to care for his younger sister and her recurring health issues. With emotions running high, he struggles to stay composed until his fiancée steps in with a gesture that leaves everyone speechless. In a single day, he learns a profound lesson about love, loyalty, and family, realizing that sometimes true family is found not in blood, but in the people who stand by us when it matters most.